Hey, it's Coach T. This is another one of the quick dive videos into Affinity Publisher 2. This is like the 9th or 10th video in the series at this point, and my goal with these is to go step by step through the different functions and features and tools that are available to you as a page layout designer or as a book designer or just as a graphic artist. I am not a graphic designer, graphic artist by trade. I'm a teacher. It's summer vacation, and I've been having fun making these videos because I was introducing this program to my mom, and I'm working with a friend of mine who's making a board game, and this has been a great conversation piece for them, and it's really a great piece of software because unlike more expensive options, it's a one-time purchase. Just as a disclosure, I am not sponsored by the makers of Affinity Serif. I don't want to be. I bought this software out of the proceeds of my own side business, and I just like talking about it because I think it's a great tool for designing cool looking books and projects and games and stuff like that. So I'm not getting anything. There's no kickback here. But I do think it's great, and they offer a trial version. They run sales, so if you're into book layout, if you're into design, this is something that I would use. I do use it. So this is where we left off in the last video. We had worked through columns, and I thought maybe it's time to take a look at this upper panel up here. There's a lot going on here, and you might have seen me fiddling around with it a couple times as I was adjusting other things during the creation of past videos. And I've buzzed over it because I did not want to overwhelm new learners with all of the bells and whistles. We've also, by and large, stayed away from this left-hand panel and from these things. I'll be honest, I don't even know what those are. I have never had to use them. So we're kind of approaching the end of this beginner series into using Affinity Publisher 2. I've got a couple ideas left for things that might be useful, but if you have questions or if you have ideas for videos you'd like to see, now would be the time to drop them in the comments before I move on to another project and then I don't get to address your question or your concern. So this idea, this thing that we've been working on is like a fire tower catalog, magazine, whatever, and we've tried to create something that is visually appealing, at least in the design principles, to a potential reader. And one of the biggest things that we can do is color. There are a lot of options for color available to you in Affinity Designer or Affinity Publisher. A lot of options. And when we are working, we want to make sure that we're either working on the master page, which we know is going to affect all other versions with the original master page applied, or be working on your specific page where you want to see those coming out. Now, I have a little bit of a fork in this document. This is technically master page dark background 2, but I went in and under the layers tab, I had right clicked and I had edit detached. So now it almost has its own clone version form of dark background 2. So if I make changes to dark background 2, they should not be reflected on this page down here. If I am affecting the layouts, anything that's going into the background will be affecting it like this, but by and large they kind of act independently, so you just need to be aware of that. Let me get this rectangle off here. Basically anything, to clarify that, because I realized that was maybe a little bit backwards, anything that would end up in this section down here inside your dark background 2 master page, these layers, that will be reflected if you add it here. But if you are just messing with top level stuff, of which there's not a lot here, I'm doing a lot of work in the background unfortunately, that will not be reflected over. So just be aware, make sure you're on the right layer for what you're trying to work on, the right layer of the program, the right layer of the document. You got to be very careful, because while you can always back it up, you can always hit Control Z and back up a mistake, we want to waste as little time as possible, right? So you can see, like, for example, title here is orange, here it's white. In order for me to get them back merged, I'd have to apply master, and now it'll change it, but that also gets rid of my purple box. It gets rid of what I had pasted in here. It detaches these two, and I don't want that because I've customized this a little bit. So I just need to be aware that some things that I do to a master page on this end, they may not carry over here where I have customized those elements. just beware. It's a little bit technical, and I'm probably not doing a great job of explaining it. But you get a kind of intuitive grasp for it as you play with the program. So we're looking at color today. I went a little bit off the beaten track there. We're looking at color, and there are a couple of options that I want to illustrate. So I'm going to risk confusing everybody here, and I'm going to zoom in on my screen and look at this thing right here. This widget is the source of no shortage of confusion and frustration for me. I get it backwards all the time. And I couldn't even tell you why I get it backwards. I'm going to get rid of that column. Okay, so now I should be typing in yellow font. The solid bar is the set fill. Typing in solid font, if I click on this ring, the lifesaver looking ring, then I can set the color of the stroke, but there's no stroke applied to these letters. The stroke is the outline. And the reason for that is because under the stroke setting, it's just turned off. So if I hit that, this one, solid, I could do texture line style. It's a little bit hard to see. Let's make this like 50 font, well, not 503. Now you can see those dotted, well, it's very hard to see on the YouTube screen. Make them a little bit thicker. A little bit thicker. There we go. Now you can see the dotted lines that are showing up versus a solid line. And the texture stroke is something that I would recommend you play with on your own. Or the texture line style, it's much more complicated. It's outside the purview of a beginner's video. So to go back to this is where I get confused. We're in the color tray onside our color tab thing here. The ring, when it's at the forefront, that is the one that you're editing, the one at the forefront. Right now we're editing the colors of the stroke or the outline. So you can see as I drag around, the color outlines and the ring is changing color to reflect that. In the meantime, the yellow in the background is not changing color whatsoever. And that's because that's the fill. Right now we are editing the one that is on the top. If I want to flip to it, don't hit this arrow. You might be tempted to hit the arrow and think that's going to help, but look what it did. It inverted the color of the letters that we're editing. And that's a mistake that I make all the time where I'm like, what's going on? Why isn't it working? Well, what you need to do is you just need to click the one that you want to edit so that it brings it forefront, just like this layer stack. It's the same logic. The one that is at the forefront at the top of the stack is the one being edited. Same idea. And now, because it's at the forefront, now I can change the color of the fill in the letters. So it's an easy visual way to do that. It's neat. You can also use your color picker. Like, let's say I wanted the color of the letters to be the color of this middle mountain here. And just make sure you go back and click it then, right? And we can get rid of the stroke like that, turn it off. And look at that. That looks nice. It looks like it belongs on the page, right? I'm going to zoom out, which is going to take me a second. I don't know why that's so hard for me to do, but okay. So I zoomed out. So now you can see the whole spread again. And you can see that these letters look like they are much more appropriate or embedded on this page. And if we look at the white, it looks pretty good with the white too. Let's get rid of the text in the background. Get rid of that one. Okay, so now we've got that pretty clean looking layout, right? So that's our color, our stroke, and the last one here is swatches. Swatches, these are some books that I've worked on in the past. These swatches that we develop, it's storing the most recent colors that we've used, and I can go back and I can click on them. It's kind of like your paint palette, but you can make your own paint palette by going to, how do I do this again? It's been a long time since I had to do it. Let's see. We'll do colors. That gives me all the different colors of the rainbow. And I need to, oh man, it's been, oh, here's another thing. Before I move on, when you're editing your color, you can also see the color fill right here. So this gives you a version of this over here. If you don't like seeing this all the time, you can also access it from up here on the top. So, all right, I'm going to show you how to create a paint palette, or a swatch palette, I suppose. It's over here in the hamburger menu. It's almost buried. It's always out of sight. and we want to add a document palette. And we're going to name this Fire Tower. Why is this my theme? I don't know. So Fire Tower currently has no colors in it. What we can do is we could click this button, add current to fill palette. So there's that one. We could click this one, and now we're starting to build out some of the colors that we've already arranged. You can right click to delete this fill. Get that out of there. We like this purple. And you can also add it as a global color, which means it would be available to any palette that's being used in this document anywhere. So if you have multiple, the global allows you to do, it allows you to carry it across the different palettes inside the document. So if I want to spend a couple minutes building out my palette, knowing that these are some colors that I'm going to be using, I only have to, I have to contend with my own color blindness here for a second. Purple, add that in, add that in. Okay, I think I got all of them. It looks like maybe I missed this red one. Right? And okay. And it looks like, okay, now I've got all of them. It looks like I deleted, or I duplicated one purple. And I can click and drag them to get them into, you know, maybe a lightest by darkest order. I don't totally know if some of these, no, okay, when I see them side by side, they're definitely not the same color. I can get this salmon, fuchsia, whatever the heck color that is. Get this into the right thing. And then I can get the really light one that might get overlooked otherwise. And now I have this kind of color gradient that fits this particular image. And don't forget, grab your heading color too, because you never know when you want that to come back, right? So now I've built this color palette. I can access these whenever. So let's say that I wanted this to be that purple, right? There it is. That's all it takes. I'm saving time by setting up the document in a way that's very friendly to my particular needs so that I can get on with the work of creating. That's the real benefit of having the color palettes available to you. It's the benefit of having master pages, of understanding text styles and how layers and FX can work. You can really begin to rapidly put together a very beautiful document using Affinity Publisher 2 and just some simple tools that you might otherwise have overlooked. So if you like this kind of simple, straightforward, honest approach to learning software aimed at adult learners, consider subscribing to the channel. You can drop a comment if you're struggling with something or you have a question, or leave a tip for another learner. That's always really appreciated. And I think in the next one, we are going to look at a couple of the tools over here, and eventually we're going to get to this bottom panel down here because there's some important information that's buried down here. So that's it. Thanks for listening along, and I will catch you in the next one.